Hi, I live here in the Blue Dot. Well, actually, in a rundown apartment complex here in Tigerland, which is a former student residential area adjacent to Louisiana State University. Unfortunately, there are very few students left here, and mostly just poor, desperate folks like me. I no longer drive, so if I want to have an adventure, I pretty much have to take the bus to it, or book an Uber, or walk. And that's why the following project/adventure is so appealing to me. I can literally hoof it there. If you look due south of the Blue Dot, you'll see a blue line. Let's put a red marker there. There we go. And this blue line is a small creek. The small creek is part of a much larger creek bayou system. Most specifically, it's part of Bayou Fountain. Bayou Fountain runs from the campus of LSU near the University Lakes south about 10 miles along the Highland Ridge. It's a naturally high crest point for the Mississippi, at least before the levee was built. And it runs into Bayou Manchac. Bayou Manchac is the former Iberville River, and it's also was historically a very important navigational conduit between the Amite River and the Mississippi River. Spanish explorers, Acadian settlers have used it to access the Amite River from the Mississippi. Lots of furs and sugar cane and other things have transited along it, but today it's closed off, filled in areas, no longer navigable, but it's a great recreation area. And it ends ultimately down in Lake Maurepas, near Lake Pontchartrain. But that's just to give you some context of my little creek. My little creek, however, is nothing nearly as grandiose. If we look at it by satellite, we're going to see that it's about 5 or 6 feet deep and about 7 or 8 feet wide. However, there's generally no more than 1 or 2 feet of water in the bottom, and on occasion it goes completely dry, and on occasion it overflows the banks when we have a lot of rain. The only wildlife that I've been able to observe has been from walking across the overpass to the bus stop, and I see minnows and small fish. I saw a raccoon there once and some squirrels. It's a tangle of bushes, etc. But if we go on and follow it west, it flows through Tigerland and in front of the Louisiana School for the Visually Impaired and Deaf, where it is considerably wider because they have no doubt dredged it and made it wider so that it could function as a retention pond for the school. I worked at the school about 7 or 8 years ago, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that at this point the creek is full of wildlife. Nutria, beaver, otter, gars, catfish, turtles, raccoons that walk along the edge and feed. Part of this is, of course, it's in the open and we can see it. Part of it is, of course, the creek is so much wider here. It flows on through the School for the Visually Impaired and Deaf, out behind fire station number 15, and continues on until it crosses into a cow pasture. Cow pasture is operated by the Louisiana State University School of Agriculture. One assumes they have experimental cows. I don't know what they do. But if we look on the map, it appears that Yon Creek has ended some 200 yards shy of the Mississippi River. But I think we all know that it can't just end. The water has to go somewhere. And if we look closely in the satellite image, we'll see an indentation. This is where the earth is sunken in above a culvert that they placed to take the flow of the creek the remaining 200 yards, probably for the safety of the cattle, to allow them to go from one side to the other, under River Road, through the levee, and ultimately into the mighty Mississippi. So, what of it? My proposal is, let's get back to where I live. My proposal is to place one or more trail cams in this creek bed. Creek beds are very important for wildlife. Not only can they utilize the water, but even when they're dry, creek beds are important roadways, so to speak, areas that they can traverse without being seen by humans or molested by humans, or run over by automobiles. And I would like to see what kind of wildlife goes between Bayou Fountain and the Mississippi River along here, especially since it goes dry on occasion. The trail cam should tell us what kind of wildlife walks through there, and when there's water in it sufficient that I can get down to it, and I have limited mobility, I wouldn't mind taking a cast net and dipping and just seeing what kind of fish I might come up with. But it's something I can do, and it's something fairly close, and I'll take pictures as I do it, and I'll make posts if anybody's interested. And if you want me to tell you when I get some, or you want more information on my project, just drop me a message. Hey, thanks a lot. Bye now.